Hey y'all, it's Kayla J here. So today I really want to talk about how God is going to do more with less. So I'm gonna use my story, and I'm also going to use the story of Gideon, and that is in Judges, specifically chapter 6 through 8. And so I've got this revelation when I first moved to my new location, where I'm now working, going to school, started a business. I got this revelation when I moved here. So if I would have stayed where I graduated college from, if I would have stayed in that town, then I would have been making, as a teacher, I would have been making just a little bit more than what I make here. And so I had reservations. I'm like, God, I'm going to like a state where teachers are literally out here in the streets, protesting that they don't get paid enough, and you want me to go there? Like, it don't make sense to me. And so God just kind of, he said, go, and I'm going to do more with less. And so I came here. He also told me to get rid of my car, or not get rid of, I hate how that sounds, but give away my car. And so I gave my car away. I came here, I didn't have a car. And so here I am, no car, taking a pay cut. And it's getting, like, I'm struggling. My savings is getting depleted, and it's just kind of like, God, what's going on? And then on top of that, like, so my parents, my mom specifically, family, like, you just moved, and they're like, okay, what do you need help with? And so the first month, I believe, the first 2 months, my mom helped me and she paid my rent. And so that was just like such a huge blessing, such a burden off me, because what I was getting paid was literally, it was just enough. And so nothing could break, nothing could, I didn't have anything extra except what was in the budget. And so if my mom would pay my rent, it would have gave me a little bit of extra to spend. And so she paid my rent for the first 2 months. And like, after she paid my rent the second time, immediately after, God was like, don't ask for anything else. And I'm just kind of like, God, what do you mean? You know I can't make this rent. What do you mean don't ask for anything else? And he was like, your family, you're using them as a crutch. And he was just like, yeah, you trust me, but you also know that if you need something, they're going to help you. And so I wasn't allowing myself to get to that place where I really needed God, because I had a contingency plan, I had a backup plan. And so the next month, he told me not to ask, and she was like, are you sure? Ooh, it was so hard to say, yes, I'm sure. But I said, I don't need help, Mom. Thank you so much, but I don't need help. And he said, from now on, like, if people offer you money, that's a different story, but don't request, don't ask. Because of course I asked when I'm getting like, okay, God, where you at? I don't have any, And so he told me not to ask, and I didn't ask, and I made the rent just barely. I think I had about $5 left over. And y'all, just me trusting God, he was able to multiply that $5. Like, literally, I remember sometimes I would go to work and I didn't have a car. I Ubered to work. It was like $20 there, $20 back. And so just literally like, God, where you at? I don't have any more money. I would go to work literally with like $3 left because I spent it on Uber that morning, and wonder how I'm gonna get home. And God would come through, or like somebody would say, I was thinking about you. Here's a Cash App. I was thinking about you. It's a letter in the mail. And I'm just like, wow, God, he showed me that if I just trusted him, he was going to do more with less. And like I said, it reminds me of the story of Gideon. And so in Judges chapter 6, there is a servant named Gideon, and he is basically God. The angel of God comes to him, and the angel of God says, I want you to defeat the Midianites, I believe. It's a little fuzzy, but he was like, I want you to defeat these people, the Amorites. They were the Midianites. He said, I want you to defeat these people who, basically these people have been like picking on them, bullying them, taking their crops, everything like that. And Gideon was just like, God, I'm like the weakest in my tribe. How am I going to do this? And God was like, I want you to do this. The angel of God said, I want you to do this. And Gideon, so this is for other overthinkers. If you're overthinking something in your life right now, Gideon was an overthinker. But it's so beautiful. God says, the angel of God says, or Gideon says, I just want to be sure. And he said, if this is you, give me a sign. Angel of God gave him a sign. Gideon was like, okay, I just want to be sure one more time. If this is you, give me a sign. Angel of God gave him a sign. And then Gideon was like, okay, I know what I said, but just give me a sign that you're telling me you want me to go and defeat this whole nation. And the angel of God gave him a sign. So if you were an overthinker, Gideon was an overthinker, and God has so much patience and love and kindness for him. So don't let this society tell you like, oh, you're doing too much. And sometimes you may be doing too much, because I do too much. But it's okay. God made you that way. God made you into an overthinker, so it's okay. Be who you are. But also at the end of the day, don't let the overthinking blind the trust. And so just that's something to think about for the overthinkers like me. But yeah, so the angel of God came to him, and Gideon said, I just need to be sure. And so once he did that, he was like, okay, God, I'll do it. And so he was on his way. And then it was a huge army that came, and God said, it's too many people. And Gideon, I can just imagine, Gideon was already, we met Gideon as a like anxious person. I can just imagine when God said it's too many, Gideon was like ready to flip stuff. Like, God, what do you mean it's too many? This is like so many soldiers. And God was like, it's too many. God was like, if it's this many, you're going to think that you did it without me. You're going to think that because you had so many soldiers, that's why you defeated them. And so God told him to get rid of some more soldiers. And Gideon was like, okay, we lost a couple men. They had us in the first quarter. Now God was like, it's too many. Get rid of them. And I just imagine Gideon was just freaking out at this point. And so he got rid of them. And then God gave him a test. He said, go down to the lake. And if separate the men from the men who cut the water, drink it like this, like a dog, or, with their hands, and then separate the men who just lap the water and drink it like a dog. And of course, it was less men who I guess theologians would consider less like classier. And so they were the ones who lapped. And so that was 300 men. And so God was like, that's it. 300 men to defeat this whole nation. And Gideon, of course, was freaking out. And then in the end, Gideon and his army, through God's help, defeats it. And it's just so beautiful, because as humans, we get so cocky after a season, as if we weren't balled up crying, like, God, what you gonna do? What you gonna do? But like the next season, we forget, where we've come from. We forget that I didn't know how I was going to make it. I didn't know how I was going to get out of that season. But God is literally telling us, y'all, that he can do so much more with less. He can do so much more if you just trust him. And so back to me, like, it was hard to give my car away coming to here and not having a car. And in another video, I talk about how I ended up getting a car, no car payment, everything paid for. It's God. And so if you're wondering, like, if God is asking you for something in this season, give it to him, because what God has behind his back. And there's this illustration that I'll never forget. It's a little girl, and it's Jesus. And so Jesus has like a bear in his hand. The little girl has a small bear in her hand, and Jesus is asking for the small bear. And the little girl's like, oh my gosh, this is like this is of course an illustration, but the little girl, I can imagine, is saying like, this is like my only bear. Like, Jesus, why are you asking for this? It's all that I have. And so, but behind Jesus's back is a huge, bigger bear. And that's us sometimes. It's like, we don't want to give God and surrender the small stuff, because we're like, what if you don't? But God is not a man that he should lie. Like, he's not going to play you. He's not going to say, psych, he's not going to do that. And so for me, giving up my car was kind of like that illustration of that little girl. But I gave my car away, and I came and I took a pay cut. And you all, like, the fruit of that in this season, when I say God is blessing me so much more, and I was even able to start a business, no car, finances running so low. I was able to invest in my own business, start it, able to mail stuff, getting around, no car. Like, that's how amazing God is. And when he says he's going to do more with less, expect the world from God. And so this season, what I'm reaping because I was obedient, because I was, and it's not even by me, like, God allowed me to be obedient. He put the thought process in my mind to be obedient. So it's not me at all. But because of my obedience, just the fruit of this season is abundant. And I can't even, it's just a pay increase, multiple streams of income. God is so good, man. He's so good. So I say that to say, if God is asking you for something in this season, give it to him. It's going to be hard. It's going to get hot. Like, there were some days I was just like, I'm just going to call my parents and I'm going to ask them for money. I'm going to ask them for a loan. I'm going to ask them for a loan for a car. I'm just done. Like, God, I'm trusting in you, but this is hard. And God came through. God came through and he said, just trust me. And like I say, y'all, it gets hard, but have that faith to know that if God is taking you through it, he will see you to the other side. He's going to see you through it as well. And so I pray this video blesses you. I pray that God keeps you, gives you peace, gives you comfort. And yeah, share this, like this video. Please comment. I'd love to talk in the comment sections. But thank you all for watching. Love y'all. Bye-bye.